Alright everybody, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be discussing NHL 19 player ratings. This is going to be my predictions for the top 10 player ratings of each position, but that's being left wing, right wing, center, and then for defenseman, I just did defenseman as a total. I didn't do righty, lefty, and goalies, of course. So let's get into it right now. We're going to start off with the centers, which is going to start off with Mark Scheifele. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start from the bottom, lowest rated player, and work my way up to the top guys so I don't really spoil the top guys or whatever. So Mark Scheifele had a really good season with the Jets. He put up a lot of points. He was a high contributor to them, even though he did get injured after the season. He was very good in the playoffs, and I feel like he definitely deserves to be a top 10 center in the game. I'm gonna go over all the player ratings afterwards in a spreadsheet, but for now, he is going to be the lowest one. Next up, we'll move on to John Tavares. So John Tavares, I feel like still an elite center in the league. Definitely deserves to be in the top 10, and I have him just above Scheifele because I feel like he has a little bit more experience in the league, and he has a little bit more to show for it. Next up, we have Steven Stamkos. Now, Stamkos, he just hasn't been as good as he was way back when, and I feel like they were pretty generous with an 88 rated card this year. I have him down a bit, just lower rated on the top 10, just because I feel like he just hasn't been producing enough, and especially in these playoffs, he hasn't been producing enough, so that's why he's there. Just ahead of him is Claude Giroux. Giroux had a phenomenal season for the Philadelphia Flyers. Despite having a bit of an underwhelming playoffs run, I feel like he is still an elite center in the game, and to be top 3 in points at the end of the year is absolutely insane. He definitely deserves to be in the top 10, and I have him here at number 6, I believe. Number 7, we have Patrice Bergeron. He's always been a consistent center in the league. Although he doesn't put up the points as much, he's like the basic mold of a centerman. Amazing faceoff man, a super hardworking defensive centerman, and when he needs to be there on offense, he will be there. I have him slotted in here in the 5th position because he's just an awesome center, and he definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Just ahead of him is Kopitar. Kopitar had a really good season, as he always has with the LA Kings. I still think he's a really good center in the league, and definitely deserves to be in the top 10, of course. I have him at number 4, and I think that's a pretty good spot for him. I have him at 5, sorry. Coming in at number 4 position, top 4 centers, I have Malkin. Now, Malkin, I think, was in the top 3 last year. This year, I have him at 4, and you'll see why that is in the next player. But Malkin, I mean, he's obviously a top center in the league, and if he isn't in the top 10, I mean, I don't know what's going on. He's just been amazing the past couple years. Definitely deserves to be there. That's why I have him there. In the 3rd position, Nathan MacKinnon had a phenomenal season, unbelievable season. He is such a good player. He looks amazing in the ice. I have him at top 3 just because I feel like he deserves it. I mean, he just completely carried the Avalanche this year, no question, and definitely deserves to get a high-rated card next year. The top 2 are McDavid and Crosby. I have Crosby ahead of McDavid right now just because I feel like Crosby deserves to be ahead of him. He has more experience in the league. He's just done more with the Olympics, with the Stanley Cups, and all that. Although McDavid has been an absolute force to be reckoned with the points he's put up in the past couple years, I just feel like for an overall wise, McDavid's going to be the highest rated card in NHL for so many years to come. But as of right now, I still think that Crosby deserves to be there ahead of him. Moving on to the left wing position. Now, the left wingers are like, there's so much depth in the center position. I didn't even include Getzlaf or Seguin on the list at all, who easily could have made the other list. Carlson and Marchessault, who have had amazing years for Vegas, aren't even on my center list at all. So realistically, you could add a centerman in the left wing position, right wing position, whatever, but for now, we're just going to go left wingers, pure left wingers. And in this spot, I have Jonathan Huberdeau. Had a really good season for the Florida Panthers. I think he was up there in assists in the entire league. There's obviously other people you could have put there. I just chose Huberdeau. I think he's a really good player in the league, and that's why I have him slotted there at number 10. Number 9, we have Nikolai Ehlers. He's just had a really good year for the Winnipeg Jets. Although it says right winger on his card, he is a left winger. It's on HockeyDB, it's on NHL.com, it's on his player profile. He's a left winger, and I slotted him in here. He was looking really good in the playoffs. He was flying down the ice, just all over the ice offensively. He was amazing this year for the Winnipeg Jets, and I have him slotted in there at number 9 because of that. Number 8, we have Max Pacioretty. Max Pacioretty's been a really good goal scorer for the Montreal Canadiens for a while now, and he's always been one of the top left wingers in the game. Despite Montreal not having a good season this year, I still think he was a good player for them, and he had a good season, so I have slotted him in there because of that reasoning. Now in the 7th slot, we have Philip Forsberg. He was amazing in these playoffs. He was scoring crazy goals, had a really good season, of course, for Nashville, and I feel like he, despite being an 85 next year, just definitely deserves an upgrade. because he's become one of the top players on Nashville. Next up is Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn, he was up there in points for the past couple years, but this year just wasn't really performing as well as he does. 88 is a pretty high rated card for him. I don't think he's going to be 80 rated next year. I think he's going to drop, and I have him in the 6th position here, but maybe he could even drop further. I don't know. We'll have to see. Ahead of him is Artemi Panarin. Now he's getting better each year, and I feel like he definitely deserves to be in the top 5 top 5 left wingers, so I have him slotted in at number 5. Number 4 position, we got Johnny Gaudreau, still an awesome player in the league, despite Calgary not making the playoffs. I feel like we have not seen the full potential of Johnny Gaudreau yet, so we'll have to see what he'll do in the years to come, but I have him slotted in at number 4 because I feel like he is definitely a top 5 left winger in the league. Now, Brad Marchand, despite his antics that he's been doing the past couple of games in the playoffs, I still think he's a really good offensive producer. He's definitely a top goal scorer, and he deserves to be in the top 3 of the left winger position, no doubt. 87 card, I would say he gets an upgrade maybe to an 88, 89 next year. We'll have to see, but definitely top 3. And number 2, Taylor Hall, just completely exploded this year for the New Jersey Devils. I don't want to say he carried them to the playoffs, but he was definitely a strong contributing factor to their run to the playoffs. And despite them having to play Tampa Bay, doesn't really matter. He still had an excellent season. He's in the running for the Hart Trophy, so we'll have to see what happens, but definitely a top 2 left winger in my opinion, and we'll have to see what his rating's like next year. Now, Ovi, of course, is number 1. There's no question. What can you say? It's Alexander Ovechkin. He's got to be the number 1 left winger in the game. Hopefully he gets a higher rated card than 88, and we'll see. Moving on to the right wingers, we got starting off with Sebastian Aho. Again, you could have placed somebody else in there, but I chose Aho just because he did have a really good season for Carolina. He did really well in the World Championships this past year, and Carolina made a statement saying that they're going to be looking to trade anybody that isn't named Sebastian Aho, so that's a pretty big statement. Clearly he's an important part of their team and definitely a good player in the league, so I feel like he does deserve to be in the top 10, and that's why I have him there. Next up we have Mikko Rantanen. Mikko Rantanen had a pretty good season this year, top 20 in points for him. He's still really young. He's got McKinnon to play with. Colorado, a young team, are looking real good so far. They did make the playoffs this year despite playing Nashville and going out in the first round. However, I feel like Mikko Rantanen has a lot more to show, and I definitely deserves to be a top 10 right winger in the game. That's why I have him slotted in there. Next up is Jacob Voracek. So he always does really well. Always top in either assists or just points. Not much of a goal scorer, although he should be because he's got a wicked shot. He always seems to find himself in the assist column more than the goal column. However, I still think he's a really good right winger and definitely deserves to be a top 10. I have him slotted in at number 8. Number 7, we got David Pastrnak, who's just really come to life in the past couple of seasons with Boston, and definitely a really good pickup in the draft there for. I feel like among some other players that I've mentioned, he does have a lot more to show for the Bruins. Hopefully he can help them succeed in the next couple of years. Definitely looks like a real good goal scorer despite his strange tape job. However, I have him at number 7. Number 6, we got Patrik Laine. Now, no question, he's a wicked goal scorer. People are already comparing him to Alexander Ovechkin. Some people have even said he has a better shot than Ovechkin. I don't know. I don't really think so. However, in the next couple of years, we'll have to come back and see what we think. You look at somebody like Patrik Laine, and then you look at McDavid, and you look at Eichel and Matthews, all these young future stars that are coming to life. Eichel and Matthews aren't in it. That's because they're both centers, and the centers are just there's so much depth in the center position, like I said. So that's why I got Laine here. Some people are going to be upset that Laine is here instead of Matthews or whatever, but Laine, definitely a top 10 right winger in the league. You can't argue with that. And ahead of him, we have Phil the Thrill Kessel. So another really good season for Phil Kessel, despite his horrific playoffs. Like, he didn't do anything at all in the playoffs. I still think he's a really good player and an excellent goal scorer, and that's why I have him at the 5th position. Now in the 4th, we have Vladimir Tarasenko. So the next 4 guys are all just elite players, and they've really shown themselves throughout the past couple years, throughout this season. Tarasenko being one of them, have him at 4th position. He's still a really good right winger in the game, despite St. Louis not making the playoffs this year. They could have, but they didn't. I definitely think he deserves maybe a bit of an upgrade past an 87. And this man, Blake Wheeler, he had an excellent season for the Winnipeg Jets. Literally carried them when Scheifele was out, when they had a bunch of defensemen that were out. He was there to show up as the captain should do, and definitely the #1 player on Winnipeg, I think, throughout the season. Hellebuyck was really good, but I really think Blake Wheeler was the #1 guy. Playoffs-wise, you can argue other people were maybe, but Blake Wheeler, definitely a top 3 right winger in the league. And ahead of him, we got Patrick Kane. So, Patty Kane, Chicago had a really not a great year, but I think Patrick Kane has just... I don't think because Chicago didn't have a good season that Patrick Kane should get a downgrade. If anything, he should be an upgrade, because he did have a really good year despite them sucking. And #1, we got Kucherov. So just like Ovi, Kucherov's got to be the #1 left winger or right winger in the game. Top 3 in points, just exploded this year with Tampa Bay. Playoffs wise, he's kind of been invisible, really invisible, and not only invisible on the points list, but like I mentioned earlier, he's just not playing defense. He's like the James Harden of the NHL. He's just, like, you watch him and you're like, what are you doing, man? Like, if he spent as much effort on the defense as he did on offense, he'd definitely be a better player, but I still think that he deserves the top position for right wingers just because of his amazing year he had this season. Now we'll move on to the defenseman. We got Seth Jones at #1. So Seth Jones, 85 overall last year, maybe 86, 85 again. I don't really know. We'll go over the overalls later and I'll explain that, but I think Seth Jones has definitely proved himself this year. With Columbus, he had a really good season towards the end of the year. He was doing really well towards the end of the year. He was definitely a contributing factor to their success going into the playoffs, and then he was good in the playoffs as well. Columbus just weren't good enough to take down Washington, but he was still a presence in the playoffs, and I think he deserves to be a top 10 defenseman. Ahead of him is John Klingberg. John Klingberg was up there in points for like almost the whole season, I think. Not so much a defensive defenseman. However, you could slot somebody like Vlasic in there, who is like one of the best shutdown D-men in the league. I feel like EA want to lean towards maybe the points defenseman. I don't know. John Klingberg got a team of the year. Vlasic didn't, you know, I don't know. We'll have to see what they'll do for next year. If we're going strictly off like point-producing defenseman, I think Klingberg is going to be in there, but we'll have to see. Ahead of him, we got Dustin Byfuglien. Dustin Byfuglien was a top 10 D last year. I still think he was a really good presence this year in the playoffs. He was just a menace in the playoffs this year, just pulling people out of the net, like just roughing people up. He was good offensively, despite making some mistakes in the Vegas series. He tried to carry it through the neutral zone too often, but I still think he was a good defenseman this year, and that's why I have him at #8 position. John Carlson led the league in points for a defenseman, so that's like the first year that like Doughty, Carlson, Burns, all of them weren't up there, you know, like Gostisbehere, Klingberg, and Carlson were all up there for pretty much the whole year, and Carlson actually ended up finishing top in points, so that's why I have him up there. He was an 84 last year, absolutely deserves to be upgraded to at least an 87 or an 86, and we'll have to see what he actually eventually gets up to. Moving on, we'll go to Pietrangelo, who is he's just been a solid D-man for the past couple years. He's been high rated in NHL every single year, so I feel like nothing's going to change really, and he's just going to stay the same. Burns, I feel like 88. Maybe downgrade him like 1 or so. He had a decent season, but his plus-minus was really, really awful, and he just hasn't been that big force for the team as he has been in the past couple years, so maybe this year it'll change if they make some changes, get Tavares, maybe, who knows. Evander Kane was definitely a presence this year. Maybe San Jose will be a little bit better next year, but we'll have to see. Moving on to the, what is this, top 4 now? Top 4. So #4 is Victor Hedman. Without a doubt, a top 4 defenseman in the league. Obviously, he contributed to Tampa's success this year. They couldn't have done it with him on the blue line, but, and that's why he deserves to be #4. #3, top 3, we got Subban. PK Subban is just, despite his off-ice antics, I feel like he is just an absolute beast on the ice. He is just everywhere. He's almost like, I don't want to say he's better than Carlson, but sometimes on the ice, he just works his butt off on defense and on offense, whereas Carlson is, I feel, way more of an offensive defenseman than he is defensive defenseman. PK Subban is truly a two-way D, and I definitely see him getting a bit of an upgrade next year. Moving on, we got Drew Doughty. So I think Drew Doughty hasn't really gotten worse or better at all throughout the couple years. I think he's just been really consistent. He's been performing very consistently throughout the past couple years, and he deserves to be in the top 2 position for sure. In the playoffs, when he had hit William Carrier, he'd gotten suspended for, what was it, 1 or 2? I think it was only 1 game. But when he came back, it was unbelievable how much he was working for his team. And the team just wasn't putting that back in for him, so that's why they didn't do so well. But Drew Doughty is 100% a top 2D. And at number 1, of course, we got Erik Karlsson. I still think Erik Karlsson is the best defenseman in the league, without a doubt, and that's why he's number 1. That's plain and simple. Moving on to the goalies now, the last of it here. We got Matt Murray at number 10. He was an 87 last year, one of the best goalies in the game, but this year just didn't perform as well. That's pretty much all you can say. Playoffs, wasn't performing as well. He had a couple good games, and he was doing pretty well, but some of the games he just weren't. He just wasn't playing that well, and regular season wise, just wasn't as good as he was in the past couple years, and I feel like he deserves a bit of a downgrade. Moving on in front of him is Tuukka Rask. For the past like 2 or 3 seasons, he's just been kind of like a top 10 goalie, but like an average top 10 goalie. Yes, he's been good, but he hasn't been amazing, so that's why I have him at the 9th position. Right in front of him, we have Andrei Vasilevskiy. Now, some people will be kind of upset maybe that Vasilevsky's so low. I just think that, I think he's kind of like Henrik Lundqvist in a sense, but a big part of his success is on the blue line. They got Hedman, Girardi, McDonough, Strawman, Coburn, all these really, really solid D-men on the blue line. And then you look at somebody like Holtby, who's got John Carlson, and then like Orpik, Niskanen, and then like Kempny and Jews, like all these, there's just these random dudes that they've thrown in this past season who just can't match up against the Tampa Bay defenseman. So I feel like that's why I have Vasilevskiy a little bit lower. Yes, he's a good goaltender, and yes, he had a lot of shutouts, but I feel like a large part of his success is because he has really strong defensemen on backing him up. Number 7, we got Braden Holtby. So this could change depending on how Washington does. Holtby's had a really good playoffs. Regular season wasn't so great, and you could see that because they started Philip Grubauer against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Holtby, I'm pretty sure, actually leads all playoff goaltenders in save percentage. So in the playoffs, he's phenomenal, but regular season, he didn't do so well. So that's why I have, well, he didn't do terrible, but he didn't do amazing, and that's why I have him at number 6, or number 7, sorry. And at number 6, we do got Jonathan Quick. So Quick was once a really good goaltender when LA was really successful, and I feel like if Jonathan Quick was in Fleury's situation where he's gotten the chance to move on to the Stanley Cup Final, maybe he'd be higher rated on this list, but I have him at number 6 for now. Number 5, we have got Connor Hellebuyck. Originally, I had Hellebuyck at number 5 when I made this list a while ago. Now, I don't know if I'm going to keep him there just because he was really not great in the Vegas series, especially speaking just in the last game. He played so well when they were down, but when it was tied and when they were only down 1-0, it's like his head wasn't in the game or something. I don't know what was going on. He did have a really good season this year, and he definitely deserves to be in the top 10. I have him at number 5. That may be subject to change, but for now, I'm going to keep him at number 5. And at number 4, we got Sergei Bobrovsky. Sergei Bobrovsky is probably my second favorite goalie in the league, I think. It goes Fleury, Bobrovsky, and Murray. And the reason because he's just so good. Despite playing on Columbus, which is a team that I'm not too fond of, I just think he is such a good goaltender and 100% deserves to be top 5. I have him at number 4. He's just phenomenal. Unbelievable to watch. And at number 3, we got Carey Price. So Carey Price has been consistently phenomenal for the past couple of years. There's a reason why he was the number 1 goalie last year. Now, seeing as other goaltenders just found success in the playoffs and towards the end of the season, I feel like he's going to be bumped down a little bit, but still maintaining his status because he's just a really good goaltender, and he's still one of the best in the league, so that's why he's number 3. And at number 2, we got Pekka Rinne. So, Rinne kind of cost them these playoffs a little bit, and he is getting older, but his season this year was just ridiculous, and there's a reason why he might actually win the Vezina Trophy. So I feel like that's why he deserves to be a top 2 goaltender. We'll see what happens when EA release the ratings, but I feel like he definitely deserves to be number 2. And in front of him, I have Fleury. Fleury, I'm a little biased because he is my favorite goaltender, but I feel like he has been the entire reason why Vegas is doing so well. He has been unbelievably ridiculous. Winnipeg got 27 goals in the Nashville series, and then I think 10 against Vegas. And that is 100% because of Marc-Andre Fleury. He was just absolutely insane during the Vegas and Winnipeg series. He had an insane regular season as well, and I feel like if Vegas end up winning the cup, and he's going to get the Conn Smythe no matter what. If he gets the Conn Smythe and wins the cup this year, without a doubt, he has to be #1 because that is just ridiculous. Anyways, now we're going to take a look at the rating system. I'll go through this pretty quickly. I have for the centers, Scheifele 87, Tavares 87, Stamkos 87, Giroux, Bergeron, and Kopitar all 88, Malkin 89, 90, McKinnon 91, Crosby 91, McDavid. Now you're seeing these ratings are a little bit higher than usual. I feel like this is just going off my opinion. This is not what I think is going to happen. I just feel like maybe next year up the base player ratings by a bit, and then don't release as many cards. I feel like people would like to have high-rated cards at the beginning of the game, so that's why I feel like they should up these ones. On to the left winger position, we got Huberdeau 85, Ehlers 86, Pacioretty 86 as well, Forsberg and Ben at 87. As you can see, Ben downgraded. I think that's reasonable. Panarin 88, Gaudreau 88, big upgrades from them. Marchand 89, Hall 90, huge upgrade for Hall, and then OV 91, of course. Right wingers, we got Aho 85, that's an upgrade. Rantanen and Voracek 86, that's an upgrade as well. Pastrnak, Laine, and Kessel upgraded as well to 87. We got Tarasenko at 88, Wheeler and Kane both at 89, and Kucherov at 91. Now, Crosby, Ovi, McDavid, and Kucherov all 91. That could be something they could see. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're all the same skill level. It just means that they're all elite players in their position, and that's why they deserve to be #1. Moving on to the defense, we got Jones at 85, Klingberg, Bufflin, Carlson at 86, Pietrangelo and Burns at 87. Burns got a bit of an downgrade there, which is fine. And then Hedman 88, Subban, Doughty 89, and Carlson at 90. Reason why I don't have Carlson at 91 is because I feel like Kucherov, Ovi, Crosby, and McDavid really performed this year, and Carlson just, despite being the #1 defense in the league, didn't perform to their standards, so I feel like that's why he deserves to be at 90. Moving on to the goalies, I got Murray at 85, big downgrade for him. 86, Rask, Vasilevsky, Holtby, and Quick, all at 87. Hellebuck 88, which very probably could change, and Bobrovsky 89, which is reasonable. Price and Rene both 90, which is fine, and Fleury 91. Now that's being a little bit crazy. I don't think Fleury is going to be a 91 next year. He might not even be the highest rated goalie. I just think he deserves it despite the season and the postseason that he's had, and that's why I decided to put those ratings in there. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy this one. Let me know down below in the comments if you agree with me, who I left out that you think should be in, and any sort of comments about the video, about the player ratings. Predict your own ratings in the comment as well. I will be looking through them. If you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.